Well, hopefully we won't see too many safety cars in this final race. On the warm-up lap, putting some heat into the tyres. Let's check out our starting grid. Mark Scaife, Marcus Ambrose side by side. That'll be a good battle straight from the word go. Richards and Murphy positions 3 and 4. 5 and 6 are Tander and Paul Wheel. There is only one Ford Falcon V8 in the top 10 of this starting grid for race 3. Jason Richards there in position 12 has made up quite a bit of ground since qualifying. Paul Radicic from 13.
And Bradley Jones has crept up through the field a little bit, although he used his best tyres in race 2. This will be a tougher one for him.
Max Wilson is still yet to put down an impressive performance in Shell Helix Racing, although he is consistently getting some points. It's just that the qualifying hasn't been coming this year like he did in his debut year. Positions 21 down to 24 show you that Craig Baird will start from the 24th spot on the grid. Rodney Forbes in position number 25. And look at Ingle down there in 27th. Jamie Whincup in 29th and Craig Lowndes down in 32nd. We'll get down to pit lane and check in with Daryl Beattie. Daryl?
Jamie Whincup, quick update there. His car stopped due to a fuel resistor in that particular race before, and also he'd let the crew know only 20 minutes before this that it needed a clutch as well, so they've been very busy.
And Lowndes will start from the back of the grid, having been penalised for the incident with Wills at the last corner late in race 2. Green flag, we're set for a start.
Some of the race managers are in line with the start to make sure that their cars are right up as far as they can possibly go. Jeff Breck is one of them. Mark Scaife, it looked as though he stalled it a little bit, and watch him, they swamp him. They're all over him like a rash. Oh, Marcus Ambrose is shot by. Greg Murphy goes past. Scaife drops back to 3rd, and then it's Stephen Richards. So 2 out of 3 races here at Barbagallo, and Mark Scaife has got a sloppy start, and look at what it's done to him. From position 1 down to position 3 by turn 3.
And to use his own terminology, Scaife has sat there and dug a hole for himself, went nowhere. So the car just bobbled at the start, and the 2 lead guys have bolted, and Craig Lowndes has gone off at the rear of the field at turn 4, right in the middle of the complex.
That was an extraordinary start, as you mentioned. Dug a hole, Mark Scaife. He just sort of didn't go anywhere for a split second. And as you know, when you've got 32 cars on this grid, all fired up and ready to rumble, a split second can mean the difference between, in this case, position 1 and position 3 as they cross the control line for lap 1 of 42. Let's take you through the order. It is Marcus Ambrose, a standing lap 107.1. Greg Murphy, Mark Scaife, Stephen Richards, Paul Wheel, Todd Kelly, Rick Kelly, Garth Tander, Cameron McConville and John Bowe make up our top 10 on your Shell Helix race update.
Excellent opening lap from Ambrose, nearly 0.7 of a second up on Greg Murphy in that first lap. Let's have a look what happened to Craig Lowndes here. Oh, he gets turned around. I think it was he and Paul Morris that made some contact there right near the back of the field. A little bit hard to know precisely what's unfolded there, but it doesn't appear as though there's any damage. On board with Scaife. Oh, she just bogs. Is that too much wheel spin, or did it bog? I think he's actually had to have another stab at the clutch to get it mobile. And there goes Greg Murphy, who has a better set of tyres available to him in this 3rd heat. Look at the margin, 1st to 2nd. Marcus just easing away a little from Murphy, Scaife. Richards with a little lock on the front right brake. Richo's got good rubber available in this one as well. He's been solid as a rock in the championship so far. Look at the battles back in the field. Cameron McConville coming at them. I think he's off to Kalgoorlie later this week. Some promo work.
Cameron McConville actually is racing here as Mark Larkham just doesn't make turn 1. In the end, evasive action, ends up on the grass and spins it back. That was a weird one from Larkham. I was just going to tell you about Cameron McConville, who comes to this race not only, as you mentioned, Neil, with a whole stack of corporate activity going on around him, but he's got a very stiff and sore neck. Basically means that he can't look over his right shoulder. Anything to the left is fine, but over the right he's been having physio, and he damaged it again doing some cycling training throughout the week. Marcus Ambrose on lap 3 of 42 shoots out to the front. This is the incident involving Larkham.
It's a touch there, and it was Craig Baird that made the contact, and round goes Mark. Now, Ambrose on that last lap is 60 flat. Remember that the tyre sets that they've chosen to start this race by and large will be pretty scruffy, so nobody's got great pace, but although Marcus has got better than most, his is a 60 flat, and then Murphy was a 60.5. Scaife actually is 60.1. The pit window is now open. Everyone darts in for better rubber. This is Todd Kelly.
Straight in. Window opens lap 2. Closes the end of lap 29. Ellery is also in. A good one from HRT, a 7.7 seconder. And it's a bit of a logjam as Ellery goes side by side with Craig Lowndes. Marcus Ambrose stays out there for Stone Brothers Racing and is putting something of a gap on Greg Murphy.
Lowndes came out in front of Ellery in that little pit lane skirmish. And one of the issues here as Murphy peels off is that Ambrose can't afford to get mixed up in any of these guys that are exiting pit lane on cold tyres. His last lap was a 60.7, so not good grip. Greg?
The traffic here in pit lane is going to be an issue for Murphy as well. In fact, he's timed it. Stall. He's got to stall. He'll get out just in front of Bernard and Ingle.
Did he stall, Greg?
He stalled, Neil. Stalled.
Okay, I couldn't figure out whether he was being held or whether he just stopped it, but he put the fire out, and he'll be filthy with himself about that.
They were yelling at him to go, 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 and there was obviously just a touch of hesitation. Now Russell Ingle comes in, up the other end of pit lane, Stone Brothers Racing.
There's a bit of gravel somewhere in a butterfly or in the airbox that got away from the Stone Brothers crew as a possible result of yesterday's off in the sand trap. Not sure about that, but obviously it was enough for Rusty to end up down here in the kitty litter in that second race. And he's pretty disappointed because he had terrific car speed and a pretty solid position in the championship. At least the points, the way they're currently framed, don't kill you in the way that they did last year when you have one of those results.
In terms of championship points, Neil, Marcus Ambrose, after race 2, has jumped up to 4th overall on the championship with 719 points. The championship points as it stands right now is this. I'll just give you the top 5. Jason Bright is still leading on 805. Stephen Richards on 784. Scaife is in 3rd. Ambrose is 4th. And Greg Murphy is now top 5. He goes down 1 position after race 2.
Now, what Marcus can't do for too long is spend too long out there at not a handsome lap speed, because if anybody out there on better rubber starts to pick up better lap speed, then this could be costly. But the Stone Brothers are very good strategically. They know what's going on.
Todd Kelly's the first man to go under 60 seconds at 59.46. And Marcus, as Neil mentioned, has been hovering around the 60 flat mark. We'll get an idea on this lap as he crosses the line yet again.
And they're going to bring him in next time round.
That was a 60.4 for Marcus Ambrose. PlayStation 2 race score shows you that Scaife, McConville, Radicic, Jones and Tratt are all still out there. But Scaife is coming into pit lane right now, and Darryl Beattie is waiting to check out this tyre stop.
Scaife in, everything looks pretty good. These guys have had a pretty good stop in these last 1 and 2 races. The other interesting fact here, I was just watching Stone Brothers getting ready for Ambrose. Good stop by Scaife, getting ready for Ambrose. One of their air guns wasn't working, so they're frantically here changing and putting another air gun on, so everything was fine for Ambrose to come in.
And one of the other issues about this race this afternoon is the temperature has definitely gone up relative to the race earlier in the day and yesterday afternoon's race. Some people were a little bit reluctant to want to stretch their second set of tyres too far. Greg?
Neil, one of the things about Scaife's stop then, which may play into his hands, as it's about to for Marcus Ambrose, is the lack of traffic in pit lane. Both of these guys are pitting at a time when there's virtually no other cars in here. When Murphy was in, there was a lot of congestion, and boy, there is no give and take in this pit lane today. Guys have been almost drag racing one another side by side at 40 k's an hour.
Yeah, it's been really tight down there. Interestingly, Kelly got onto better rubber pretty quick as Ambrose comes in. Darryl?
Marcus in, everything looks fine. No adjustments to the rear of that car like we typically see through the screen. Good stop, tidy.
Oh, super efficient. That was a weapon of a stop, that one.
That was awesome, and Stone Brothers Racing did a cracker. Now Marcus Ambrose comes out. Will he get in front of Todd Kelly? Yes, he does.
Kelly's been going like a rocket. 59 flats, his best lap and the fastest lap in the race so far, and 59.2 on his last lap, and that was the point that I was going to make. He got onto good rubber at the right time.
Marcus Ambrose should hold on to his race lead when it all shuffles down. race score on the road. McConville is our leader. Radicic is in second. Wilson, Dumbrell, Baird, Morris, Forbes. Down to Ambrose with a pit stop next to his name in 8th.
I want to know where Scaife is. That's the...
Well, Scaife's 2 back. Scaife will be behind Greg Murphy.
Yeah, I just can't sight. What I'm getting at is I just can't quite sight him at the moment. So it looked like Mark may have been a little bit slower actually getting away. The actual jump, there it is. So that's a big margin. And that's by virtue of the fact that I reckon that the Stone Brothers stop was very quick. And it just looked like there was some hesitancy in Mark's departure. And if you try for too much throttle angle sometimes when you launch the cars with the pit lane speed limiter on, they just cough and they sit there and hesitate a little bit. And that could have been perhaps costly for Mark Scaife. Great manoeuvre, though, from HRT to get Kelly back in the game.
And another great pit stop. So I was going to mention from Stone Brothers Racing, in race 1, they were literally fist-pumping at their own work. They knew that they got Marcus in and out quickly, which is the name of the game. And by the time that he rejoined the race in race 1, it was all arms up. Maybe it's going to work for them again here. The Pertec boys are effectively leading this race. Race 3, it's crunch time at Barbagallo. We'll take a break. Wherever you're watching around Australia or around the world, this is your home of motorsport. Come back and join us for more of the V8 Supercar Championship. Welcome back to you, where Marcus Ambrose continues to be our effective race leader. There are 2 cars yet to complete their pit stops. Max Wilson and Rodney Forbes. Now, there's a couple of incidents we just need to show you. This is what's happened to Stephen Richards and John Bowe. Stephen Richards, by the way, is down in 12th position on the road. And a touch-up with John Bowe at turn 1. Now, this could be the clincher during the break. This just happened. Rodney Forbes.
Well, this was actually for the lead of the race, because Forbes had not stopped at that point, so it was for position, and it looked as though there's been contact there and the 0-0 car has gone off. Now that's going to be a sticky one.
And the 00 Motorsport crew quickly fired back to Rodney Forbes when he jumped on the radio. They're convinced, or they believe, that Marcus Ambrose should get a drive-through penalty. By the way, if you're wondering who's behind the green-eyed monster now, Rodney Forbes is now racing that 00 car as a result of a bit of a mix-up, or change, if you like, throughout the franchising rules. Greg Ritter will no longer be racing in that car. Rodney Forbes takes over the 00 car.
See, sometimes in those instances, Matthew, you've got a situation where the net race leader, which is actually Marcus, you know, is coming up onto what could be lap traffic, and those sorts of things can unfold. But in this instance, it's actually 4th position, so that's that'll be one that'll make the guys in race control sweat trying to figure out what the appropriate measures are there. But meanwhile, ignoring that for the moment, Ambrose has got good car speed, just starting to ease away a little bit from Kelly, who's seemingly dropping into the clutches of Murphy, and Scaife just has fallen out of the game a little bit in that round of stops. And as you pointed out quite correctly, Stephen Richards did too, so they must have had a bad stop or been tripped over in traffic. Stephen is down in 11th after being right up there in amongst it in the opening laps.
So Marcus Ambrose in perfectly crystal clear conditions. Then Todd Kelly, there's Murphy, and here is Scaife, a couple of seconds back. Mark Scaife, by the way, has never won here at Barbagallo in a V8 Supercar, very similar to the last round we were at in Winton. He did win here in a Nissan back in 1991, and in fact that was his maiden championship win. Since then, of course, boy, has he racked up the numbers. 2nd all-time for round wins, 34 career, just 3 behind the great Peter Brock. Greg Rust.
Just been talking with Paul Taylor from Avesco down here in pit lane. There has been some communiques with race control about the incident between Rodney Forbes and Marcus Ambrose. No action at this stage, so we'll have to wait and see whether it's going to be a post-race situation where they look at it, or whether a future penalty may be issued during this race. Keep you posted.
Yes, and there's a policy change there after the last round at Winton, and where there needs to be further investigation or discussion after the race, that is going to be the protocol from this round forward. And that way we don't have a repeat of the situation like unfolded with all the controversy and discussion about what happened at Winton.
And it may mean, Neil, unfortunately, that the wrong man ends up on the dais at some weekends. It's certainly the way they don't want it to happen. They want to get the right guy up there to give him the trophy. But in the interest of making this sport fair and equitable, you've got to go through the proper process. So let's hope that everything's sorted out
These two
while they're on the track.
These two were teammates last year, and Murphy seems to just have a little speed edge on Todd right at the moment. Not a bad recovery for Todd Kelly, having qualified just outside the top 10, and then just marched his way forward. 10th in the first race yesterday, 9th in the second race, and now battling for what is actually in track position terms third, because Max Wilson has not yet actually taken his stop. So his net position is in reality second, but
you know what, Todd Kelly has jumped up 4 spots in the championship since this weekend started. He came here in 17th, and he's now up to 13th after having 2 DNF rounds, or 0-point rounds.
Incidentally, we're just giving you a look there at the actual margins. It's all very well to talk about time, but sometimes you need to actually establish what it looks like, and that gives you a bit of an idea of the margins across the first third of the field.
There's the championship points on your screen. Jason Bright and Stephen Richards, 1 and 2 in the championship. And you know what? Both of those guys are yet to win a race or a round this season. So this year, 2003, there's no question that consistency will get you there. And I showed those points, by the way, just before the start of this race to Stephen Richards, and he looked at it and said, you know what, I'm catching. I'm getting there.
On the subject of Stephen Richards, he's had another run in the VY and is very happy with the balance of performance of the car set. It's got some characteristic differences over the VX, which you'd expect. Here's Max in for his stop, but he will run the new car in Darwin. And they've now got a sufficient handle on the car to be confident. They've got sufficient spares at Perkins Engineering to make sure that they can run the car effectively and back it up appropriately. So we'll see Stephen in that car. He doesn't believe that he'll be any worse off, if I could put it that way. That's probably not the right description, but he could in fact be with the new car better off, and that will continue to enhance his championship performance. And there he is, working away at the job.
They're going to try and have another test before they get to Darwin, Cromley, just to start fiddling with the car now. That test that you spoke about after Winton, I think it was around about 100 laps, and it was the day where they just got to understand the car, get to know exactly what it does, new specifications of the VY, and of course the change to the front suspension. Now they can go back if they get the chance, and it's certainly on the slate to go back and have a little bit of a fiddle. So by the time they get to Darwin, they can start to play. This battle group shows you Max Wilson.
Ingles made good ground. He's in 17th at the moment. And when you consider that he was right up at the blunt end of the field, he has marched along.
Max Wilson is 14th in the championship as Russell has a dive down the inside.
Remember that Max's tyres are not totally up to pressure or temperature at the moment. Glenn Seaton is also trying to make an advantage while the going is good, while Max is still normalising. Mark Noski's in amongst it as well.
One of the weird things about the guy that you're looking at, Max Wilson, in his second year in the V8 Supercar Championship, remember last year he came here and started blitzing everybody in qualifying, but couldn't put the results together in race. Well, this year his qualifying performances have been quite down. 34th in Adelaide, 15th Phillip Island, 22nd, then 12th and 19th here. But his race results are going okay, and he's top 10 at Winton. He is now in the top 15 in the championship. Greg Murphy all over his former teammate Todd Kelly at turn 6.
Oh, all over him and touching him. Actually tagged him in the right rear. He realised that trajectory that the HRT car was on was closing down on him. You could see that he tried to actually get out of the hole, but there was still a light touch, and can't afford to turn Todd around or damage his own car.
Don't forget, both of these guys have new team bosses here this weekend. Todd Kelly now has Mark Scaife as boss, and Greg Murphy now has John and Margaret Kelly as the Kmart boss. John Kelly, of course, and Margaret, the parents of Todd and Rick. A little bit incestuous, isn't it? We'll take a break here at Barbagallo and come back for more of the VB 300. Round 5 of the championship. Marcus Ambrose is our race leader. Damage to the left-hand side of car number 1, Mark Scaife in 4th position on lap 25 of 42. Look at that. He's had heavy contact with someone, and and I'm pretty sure it was over the back of the circuit.
I think it might have been Rodney Forbes, because the lead guys had gone through on Rodney. Oh, and Rodney's turned the car around at turn 4 and had nowhere to go but to collect the side escape. Look at that. And that's why there's a big hole drilled in the side of the #1 HRT car.
Well, he started to sort of disappear off the timesheets a little bit throughout that lap, and then we had to go pretty much reverse around the 2.4 kilometre circuit and find out why. And that was a fairly graphic illustration. Just after that happened, by the way, I can tell you the Holden Racing team were barking straight down the line to their team boss, telling him, let's just keep the points. It's all about points. So Ambrose is first, Kelly is second, Murphy is third, Scaife fourth. He's 6 seconds back. Now it's all about points, and there's the damage to the green-eyed monster. Rodney Forbes has been tangled up in a few incidents today. This one, 2 wheels for Stephen Richards. That's as Rodney's trying to get back off that.
Richards has got some sort of an issue with that car at the moment, and I think there could be some temperature worries with it. He's just back in about position 11. There's been some speculation that he may or may not have to come in. But, gee, that's a lot of damage on the left rear of that car.
V8supercar.com.au is your official supercar website. All the latest news is Team Better Electricals. Dean Canto does a bit of grass work.
That's the last corner just at the pit lane entry, so it's going to bring a fair bit of garbage back onto the road.
Yeah, look how much he scooped up, and he wasn't really in the dirt that much.
Watch it all come out.
How much.
Look at it.
Leans on the brakes and it spurts out the front. Darryl Beattie in pit lane.
Yeah, I just spoke to Jed Grett to get an update on the Scaife incident with Forbes. He said, obviously he spun in front of him. He said it has damaged the front left guard on Mark's car. Watching him come into turn 1 here now on the outside. Neil, you can see that tyre rubbing on the guard, so they just got their fingers crossed to get the points.
Yeah, Mark, for some reason, just hasn't quite recovered from that set of, or that pit stop, and he's been on average about 0.2 slower per lap before the incident. So he really isn't any worse off at the moment. It's a question of whether or not Rick Kelly can actually close down on him, but it's something we need to watch just in case the car will degrade with the damage on the left-hand side. And the 0-0 car's been brought in to remove the rear bumper, which was dangling dangerously. And it's just a plastic or a nylon material, so they've just torn it away, and out the car goes again. Here's the battle for second and third. They're rounding up Canto.
You can see there on the last 4 laps, the time difference. The red box shows that Todd Kelly has been roughly 1/10 of a second outside the time of the man in front of him, Marcus Ambrose. For those last 4 laps, our statisticians here have been crunching a few numbers. In terms of the championship, if Jason Bright finishes where he currently is, which is 7th, and Stephen Richards finishes where he is, which is 11th, Richards will lead this round with the championship lead by 1 point. Darryl Beattie.
Just a quick update with the Castrol team. Dumbrell's car at the moment, gearbox temperature is climbing lap by lap, so they're just monitoring that at the moment.
Okay, so it may have been mixed communication then. It may not have been Richards that was having the problem. It may have been Dumbrell, but
Paul Dumbrell's had quite a few problems here since he turned up. This is his first championship start at Wanneroo. Here's a pretty good battle. Car 50 is Bright. Jason Richards in 45. On the inside of Tander in 34. So Jason Richards will move up to 8th position. Tander down to 9th. That's the battle group we're going to focus on. The end of the top 10. Jason Bright is the defending Wanneroo champion, but made it quite clear, like a lot of these guys, that this has been his bogey track until he got here last year.
gee, none of these guys have got any pace, Matthew. There's a bunch of them from position 9 onwards that are all into the mid-61s now. So higher temperature and worn tyres equals slow race cars.
Murphy versus Scaife, which is third versus fourth. Over the last 4 laps, well, Mark Scaife had quicker times in 3 of them. And that last lap from Garth Tander was a 1:02, but of course he did get filled up by traffic. And another dice with Jason Richards. He's got his position back, and now he's going to hold on to it.
Could get crisscrossed here, though, if the better electrical car can get up the inside. And I think Paul may have been able to do it, because by braking shallow on the approach to turn 7, Jason then makes his exit slower, and in fact he has dropped the position. So the track temp's up now to 25, the air temp's 21. Whoa, look at the Brightmobile all crossed up at turn 3, and in fact he's a little bit slow into 4. And Garth is there trying to nail him. This, as we said earlier in the day, has been the toughest round so far for Jason. His car clearly a little bit uncomfortable around this lower grip track, and now Garth gets up the inside pretty easily and makes that move stick quite effectively. No paint swapped. He'll skip away a little bit now.
That'll put Garth Tander up into position 7. As a result of rounding up Jason Bright. Tander, of course, born here in WA. Returns to the Barbagallo circuit for the 6th time. And his best was a podium finish in 2000.
Good intense motor racing here in this group. And Garth just got the backs chirping a little bit. In fact, he's had to grab the brake again because he got a little bit out of shape. And Bright buys in here, but he's going to be in an awkward position as they head up to 2, 3, 4. Oh, serious stuff. Boys getting grease nipples on their elbows, cars sliding all over the place.
Slow down a little bit, just try and get the tyres back, mate. It's just going to go down, but downhill now.
That's Team Brock talking to Jason Bright. Now, Bright pulls across to the left. That allows Paul Radicic through. Jason Richards will also go through. Stephen Richards.
Touch between Richards and Bright. This is the back straight. Just up to 250 clicks. Briefly visit 6th gear. Terrific braking into that last corner. The cars side by side. McConville in there as well. Looking for a run down the inside into turn 1. Bow, the watching brief. Dumbrell's off on the outfield at turn 6, and that could well be a safety car. It's in an awkward spot, and it's pretty close to the edge of the track, and he won't be able to move it.
With 10 laps to go, 10 full laps. Makes you wonder if that car's in a precarious position. I can see a couple of the sport cars racing across. The safety car is waiting to pick up the leader, we understand, so looks as though we're going to bunch up again. Yes, the safety car will be deployed as a result of that man, Paul Dumbrell, 20-year-old Victorian, in his first full-time V8 Supercar Championship drive for Castrol Perkins. Is doing it tough here at Wanneroo. Gives us time to get a breather and check out who is doing what. Marcus Ambrose, just before that safety car, had a 4.8-second lead over Todd Kelly. Greg Murphy is in 3rd, Scaife is in 4th, Rick Kelly and Paul Wheel are 5th and 6th. Take you down to the top 10 where you'll find Stephen Richards. So safety car conditions, it's a hard track, this one. It's a difficult one to understand as far as grip goes, and it's caught out Paul Dumbrell. We'll come back right after this break on your home of motorsport. We've got a restart here at Barbagallo. Marcus Ambrose leads the race. Todd Kelly is 2nd. Greg Murphy is 3rd, but there's something wrong with that picture, and I'll tell you what it is. Mark Scaife is not part of the top 4. He's not part of the top 5, the top 10, or anything thereabouts, and this is the reason why he has come in with a flat tyre.
No doubt as a result of the contact and the guard rubbing on that tyre. The contact in turn 4 with Rodney Forbes. And just got the knockometer on the job there to just drag the front left guard off and replace the wheel and send him back out. But their heads are pretty low at HRT. And that's a disappointing outcome for them. Darryl?
Jeff, obviously, Mark's found that flat tyre during that pace car, but obviously from an incident earlier.
Yeah, I know. Forbes spun in front of him, and he, you know, Mark had nowhere to go, and a bloke can't even spin properly, never alone do anything else. So, you know, he hit the guard, and obviously punch at the tyre, so it's got to press on, I guess.
There was an incident earlier as well with Forbes and Ambrose.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I don't want to comment on that one, but because it didn't involve us. But you know, some blokes can spoil good racing.
Thanks, Chef.
Cheers.
That is effectively game over for Mark Scaife.
It was nearly game over for Paul Wheel in turn 1 there a minute ago too, because he went in there all crossed up and was well out of shape. Canto here just making a move down the inside of Mark Larkham. I think Paul was able to rescue it and soldier on.
Mark Scaife, as he came down the back straight and identified that flat tyre, said to Jeff Grech and the boys, when is this luck going to stop? As in bad luck. There were a few more words added to that, which I'll let you make up your own minds about. In terms of overall round finishes, Marcus Ambrose at the moment is steering towards yet another round victory, and Todd Kelly steering towards a podium finish. He should end up in third if everything stays as is, and by doing that, you'll kind of save HRT's bacon, because they've not had a driver on the podium for the last 3 rounds. If they didn't get one here in the top 3, it would have been the first time for 10 years they've gone 4 rounds without a top 3 finish. Let's get down to Greg Rust.
Matty, super impressed with the effort of Paul Radicic in this particular race. The 2-time winner of the Touring Car World Cup saved his best set of rubber for this race. I've just been down to the Briggs Motorsport team, spoken to John McLean. That's the reason why the Rad has been able to climb to 6th place at the moment. A stunning performance, and he is consistently the quiet achiever so far in 2003. A couple of other quick issues for you. The track temperature has gone up 1 degree, and no movement yet as far as the officials are concerned on that incident between Ambrose and Forbes.
You know what about Radicic, Rusty? Every round throughout this year, he has finished much better. Big one from David Bernard. Just going to say that Radicic has finished much better than his qualifying performance.
He could be far enough around that this doesn't actually produce a... Oh,
Stephen Ellery.
Upside down. What is going on?
Well, that's at the end of turn 7 rather.
Is there something on the road down there, I wonder?
Maybe so. Or is that turn 1? No, that's turn 1. That is down the end of the main straight. And Stephen Ellery, watch this, coming down the main straight here on the right-hand side of your screen, locks it up really early and backs it into the dirt. Now watch this. Flip it over. Oh.
It's not a real heavy one, so Stephen should be okay. That's got crossed up, and it's the sand that's grabbed the car and tipped it upside down, and that's what it looks like. I just want to make sure that the master switch is off in the car. Bruce Ellery's dad just obviously concerned as he looks down there at turn 1 to make sure that that car...
And Stephen Ellery's out. There is a whole army of safety cars ready to cross the track at turn 1.
He's fine,
which get to him. And he'll just sit down and take a breather and watch how 1,350 kilogram car can end up on its lid in a flash.
Looks a little bit worse than it was, and thankfully Steve's out of the car. You know what I reckon will happen here? This is a big chance to be red flagged. Actually getting that thing back on its wheels and dragging it out of the way. We're 39 laps done in a 42-lap race, and we're past the 75% distance. This is going to be declared.
Well, if it is, we look forward to Hidden Valley, the 29th of June. That is round 6. Greg Rust.
Matty, I'm down with Stephen's dad, Bruce. Have you had a chance to speak to Stephen at all? Have you heard from him on the radio?
All I heard him say is I've rolled it, and I haven't heard from him since, but I believe he's out of the car and he's okay. So that's all I'm concerned about, that he's okay.
Most important, Bruce, before that, had he reported a problem with the car? The back end seemed to step around suddenly.
He just said as he went down here that when he went to go for the brakes, he had no brakes at all. He said, I'm just a passenger.
Thanks, Bruce.
We may be able to shed some more light on this. Remember, we saw David Bernard go off. Well, look at this. David Bernard there has contact with Stephen Ellery right there. So Bernard goes shooting off at
turn 7.
Turn 7.
Right near the pit lane entry.
And then at the end of pit lane, the exit of pit lane, Stephen Ellery can't go anywhere but straight ahead and effectively upside down.
Yeah, now if they can get this thing over and turn the turtle up the right way again, they might be able to drag it out of the way, but I reckon that...
they're not going to do it, Neil. Word is they're going to restart the race, so they must deem that it's deep enough in there. And that means we are effectively going to have probably a one-lap dash. Either that or they're going to finish under safety car conditions.
Yeah, I'm very surprised if they start a race with a car upside down in the braking approach.
Well, we understand that they are going to put the lights out on the restart, Marcus. There you go. They're going to put the lights out on the safety car. They're going to pull it in.
What, with that car upside down?
Yeah.
Yes, Marcus, with that car upside down.
They've dragged it off to the side of the track, so there's going to be a restart this time around.
That's a very unusual decision, but there you go. That's
all of one lap.
The idea, of course, is they don't want to finish the race under yellow. A lot of people feel strongly about races, particularly NASCAR racing in the US, where events finish under yellow. It becomes a bit of an anti-climax, so their race control's trying to make sure that we actually finish the motor race. But very unusual circumstances when there's a car in the straight-ahead braking position. Oh, we've got a problem here with one of the Team Dynamic cars. Jason Richards has come coasting to a halt. And it's right in the middle of turn 4, right at the apex of turn 4.
Just what they needed.
And it's...
and that's a fuel problem.
The chat is that it's out of fuel.
Yeah.
Oops.
Garth Tander ran out of fuel at Winton. Now, look where that is.
Slightly different circumstances,
yeah,
though. This is a sprint race and 42 lapper, and you've got a 120-litre tank available to you. So
he's got it going again. He's got it out of the way, so...
Well, there's probably a reserve switch on there, and yeah. Anyway.
Safety car is pulling off. Jason Richards rejoins the race in the very rear of the field. And what about this? A one-lap dash. It'll be all over in underneath a minute, folks, I can guarantee you. Marcus Ambrose shoots off into the distance. Todd Kelly, will he have a lunge at turn 1? No way. Greg Murphy in third. They're all kind of coasting around here, and you can understand why. Up through turns 2 and 3.
It's all over.
It is absolutely game, set and match, and Marcus Ambrose will do it easy. Probably about 1.2 kilometres left between Marcus Ambrose and an historic race victory and round victory for the Blue Oval. He's now got 4 round wins. In this, his 31st championship start. Make that 5 by the end of the day. A good performance yet again from Marcus Ambrose. I can't emphasise how much he really wanted to make it 3 in a row. He qualified 6th, went up to 3rd in the shootout, and for the first time since 1993, Marcus Ambrose will make sure that a Ford driver wins 3 consecutive rounds. The lights are flashing.
Boys, what a job. Bloody fantastic, eh? We just stole it from them. Absolutely awesome.
Marcus Ambrose, round winner at Eastern Creek, round winner at Winton, and the round winner here in Western Australia. And overall, that makes 4 straight for the Blue Oval when you factor in Craig Lowndes' victory at Phillip Island. Wow. An unusual race, but it ended, as always, in a little bit of drama and a little bit of controversy. These are the race results, the race 3 results. Ambrose, Kelly and Murphy. Rick Kelly in 4th, Tander there in 5th. In the top 8, there are 2 Blue Oval cars. So Marcus Ambrose not only wins race 3, but will also take out the overall round. We'll wrap that up right after the break and tell you who finished round 5 of the V8 Supercar Championship. Well, it was this kind of weekend for some of the drivers here at Barbagallo, the kind of weekend that can really turn your V8 world upside down, and we can report that Stephen Ellery is quite okay after that spectacular crash at the end of race 3. This man is dangerous at the moment, not only when he's behind the wheel of a V8 Falcon, but when he's got a bottle of champagne in his hand and that's the third straight round that Marcus Ambrose has popped the cork in celebration. 186 points. He wins the round. These are the round results at the end of 3 races. Murphy on the podium, so too yet again Stephen Richards, and Paul Radicic made a charge to come up into 10th position. How does all this affect the championship overall? Well, Jason Bright still leads, but now the gap is closing between him and Stephen Richards. And by the way, both of those guys are yet to win a race or a round this season. They're still the top 2 contenders. Marcus Ambrose has pushed his way up into 3rd position overall for 2003. And let's get his thoughts on yet another round victory.
Marcus, you've won the 3rd and final race of the weekend and the round.
Yeah, 3 in a row, you know, fantastic. We've been looking for the grip this weekend, and the boys just gave me the best car to you. That car in that race was, I say it every time, but man, it was the best I've ever had.
What about Hidden Valley?
Yeah, well, we have, it's a pretty good hunting ground for us there, so yeah, we're going 4 out of 4.
All the best.
Yeah, great. Have a party.
Well done on 2nd place. That's a great result, but this blue thing was quick today, wasn't it?
Do we have to talk about that, Rusty? Really?
No, you don't.
The Stone Brothers are doing a fantastic job this year. Marcus is driving, obviously, brilliantly, and their stops are fantastic, and, you know, they're not making any mistakes, so, you know, they deserve to be where they are, and we've got a lot of work to do, you know. I think we need to get into our VY pretty quickly and get developing it and start trying to catch up, because, you know, they had an advantage over us again this weekend for sure.
How are your tyres at the end of that, and when can we expect the VY?
They were pretty well shagged. I mean, that's what the car's been doing all weekend, and that's been letting us down. It's just been using its tyres way too hard. We chose to run the finishing tyres from yesterday's race this morning at the start, and it cost us dearly, and it cost us 3 spots straight away. So the car's just been using its tyres too much, and we really haven't been able to tune that out of it all weekend. But, you know, we're up the front. We didn't make too many mistakes, and we're able to maintain a good finishing position, so it was pretty good.
Hey, 2nd overall and a race win. Nice way to bounce back from Winton. Well done.
Thanks, mate. And hi, Nikki and Ronan back home. Cheers.
Stephen, 3rd for the weekend. You had a little off in that race and had to gather it back up.
I caught out on the stuff that went down after the first lap or something. Just went in a bit deep and couldn't sort of recover it across the slimy stuff. So yeah, a bit of a mistake, but somehow we got away with it.
Well, given the nature of this circuit, which is not only short but slippery, we wondered just how tough it'd be for the midfield guys. And Neil Crompton, you've got a man right here who made a pretty good charge.
Well, a few notables who climbed through the field. Paul Radicic, great job. You played a great strategic game today to get right into it.
Yeah, it was all about conserving the tyres for the last round, and struggled in race 2, but, you know, put the good tyres on in the 3rd round, and just managed to keep it nice and cool and come through.
And you were further back than fullback after going or getting buried with that oil problem in qualifying.
Yeah, we were, but hey, we're getting used to, you know, I'm trying to win as much dog food as I possibly can VIP this year. So.
And super quick, what happened between you and JB?
I just got a good run on him coming out of 7, and had the line to the inside corner, John come across and kept coming. And of course, the rules are if you're halfway up the inside, you don't have to give way, and the rest is history.
It's never easy. Look forward to seeing you in Darwin. I guess the real question that remains to be answered now is just how do HRT recover from what was another tough weekend? And an interesting question mark over Marcus Ambrose. Rodney Forbes involved with incidents with both Mark Skaife and Marcus. There's some questions to answer there.
I think so, and we came into this round with plenty of unanswered questions after the last round at Winton, and maybe this one is not sorted out yet. Nevertheless, there's a whole stack of motorsport still to come on Network 10, a whole stack of sport. In fact, let's check out what's happening tonight from Magello. And is it round 6, Hidden Valley? And don't forget also the V8 Superstars in Perth. The on-air date is Sunday the 15th of June as the boys discuss the issues at Burswood Casino. So the story here from Barbagallo Raceway, Marcus Ambrose wins again. Look forward to your company next time on Network 10's coverage of the V8 Supercar Championship. The full trifecta to make it 1, 2, 3.
He's got glass in his eyes. Yeah. That is one of the worst, if not the worst, stewards' decision I have ever seen.
Is there a inside? Right, and